Slamdown is sponsored by BODYSLAM and Jam, and WWE, Smack Talks, and Impact Fan Nation. Welcome to another episode of Slamdown Live. We're going to be covering everything Impact Wrestling. Now, as you would know, last show I was quite critical on parts of Impact. But this time, I've got to say, it was 10 times better. Out of the whole shows this week, it's been my number one. This being number one, and then Raw 2, SmackDown 3. The storylines were good. The matches were good. I couldn't take my eyes off the action. I was definitely happy to see Matt Sydal. Oh, is it Sydal? Is he Evan Bourne, in other words. I was happy to see him in the Impact Zone. He's someone that I've said for a very, very long time should be in Impact Wrestling, especially in the X Division. You know, the moves he can do, you know, I'm happy he's there. There's still a few other guys that I'd love to see there. You know, I've said Ricochet. Trying to think of the other lad's name now. There's two English guys. I can't believe I'm having a mind blank already. Jesus. I've only done a payback show, the payback show earlier, so I don't know why my brain's freezed up already. Can't think of his name. I can picture both of the guys in my head. One of them has had brilliant matches with Ricochet. If anybody knows who I'm on about, can you put it in the comments? Because my brain just does not want to work. But anyway, there's a lot of other guys that I'd like to see join the X Division, especially more of a acrobatic sort of wrestler as well that can do the high spots, the flyovers. I'd also love to see Tiger Uno back. I still can't understand why he was released. I know he had a few injury problems, but to me, he was brilliant for the X Division. You can tell they're putting a lot more work into the X Division now, especially with the last show where they had the X Division as the main event. And it's nice to see, you know, the X Division is what made Impact Wrestling the product it was back in the day. You know, that's what people loved. And, you know, it went all screwy when Bischoff and Hogan didn't like the X Division, and then we had Abyss as X Division champion. Right, okay. And everything just went screwy. But the X Division is my favourite part of Impact Wrestling, and I'm so happy to see it's getting focus. It's getting used in the right way. I'm not going to say I'm overly happy them bringing some oldies back, but I can understand why they've done it. I think Loki and Sanjay Dutt, as long as that's the only two veterans that are coming back, I'm happy with. You know, I would love to see some more new blood in the X Division. You know, because the one thing Impact's always had, it's always had a small roster. You know, when they had what I'm just going to nickname the Troubles, when they had the Troubles, they cut the roster right down. Now, because they've got all these talent share agreements with all these other wrestling promotions, they can have a big roster and move guys around. And that, to me, is one of the big positives. I still feel that they should change Explosion a little bit more, make Explosion more of the developmental area of Impact Wrestling, like having a lot of the new guys go on there first, you know, build them up, then bring them onto Impact. But the signings they've done, spot on. There are a few other more. I do feel we'll see Jack Swagger in Impact Wrestling. A lot of people are a bit like, oh, Jack Swagger. What you got to think? A wrestler could be only as good as the way they are booked. And if I'm honest, Jack Swagger was booked appallingly. Now, if you look at people that have come into TNA, either former WWE stars or even former NXT stars, you know, they've developed and got better. You know, the example I can give with that is Kurt Angle. Now, a lot of people are going to say, well, he was a big star. Yes, he was a big star in his WWE. But even he said himself, and you can go and look this up, that his best times was the Impact Zone. You know, Kurt Angle turned from the joke act to a serious wrestler. A badass. I know some people will probably disagree with that comment, but I'm sorry, you know, he said it himself. He had his best time there. I'll give you some of the NXT examples. Shawn Ryder, Eli Drake. Didn't really know who he was. I saw a few matches when he was in NXT. He wasn't really anything great. But now look at him in Impact Wrestling. You know, he's got a great vocals. He's great on the mic. His wrestling ability, I'm going to say is good. I'm not going to say the best. There are better athletes out there. But on the mic, he's brilliant. You know, there's a lot of guys that Impact Wrestling have picked up that used to be former employed by the WWE and made them better. There is one example, and I've got to say it, where Impact Wrestling buggered up, was Damien Sandow. That's the only time they've buggered up with former WWE talent. But it's like, it annoys me when people say, oh no, you're signing a WWE reject. Oh my God, you're signing a WWE reject. Oh God, here we go. Impact's doing it again. WWE reject. They're not rejects. They are wrestlers. So, let's say a normal person got hired by a company. Got fed to that company and joined a rival company. Would you call that a bloke a reject? No, you wouldn't. You know, WWE signs Ring of Honor stars. Would you call them, oh God, WWE signed a Ring of Honor reject? It's just stupid. It's fans that use that terminology and blast Impact Wrestling and use that terminology are just stupid. I'm just going to say it as it is. You know, it's laughable. It really is laughable. But the funny thing is, I'm going to call them WWE marks. I'm not going to say wrestling fans because it's not wrestling fans. It's those bloody WWE marks, right? They've blasted Impact Wrestling for years for signing former WWE talent. Okay. And these marks have still blasted for Alberto El Patron joining Impact Wrestling. Right, okay. So are you going to blast yourself then for WWE signing Samoa Joe, Impact star, former Impact reject then. Eric Young, Impact reject. AJ Styles, Impact reject. And TJ Perkins, Impact reject. Austin Aries, Impact reject. Points valid. If you're going to slag Impact Wrestling off for signing ex-WWE stars, then you should be slagging the WWE off for signing Impact Wrestling rejects. It works the same way. You know, as far as my point of view on it, is it doesn't matter where a wrestler comes from. I don't mind if Impact signs indie guys, ex-WWE guys, Ring of Honor. I don't care. As long as they come to Impact Wrestling, they're used correctly, they tell a good story, and they're a good wrestler. That's all I'm focused on. I want a good wrestler, good mic skills. You know, that's where my focus is. Look at Rosemary. You know, if you look when she was in Tough Enough, she wasn't really anything special. She signs with Impact Wrestling, takes up this Rosemary gimmick, and now is absolutely phenomenal. Plays that character so damn well. And this is one thing Impact's done, and it's done it since day one. It turns people into superstars. Christ, look at AJ Styles. Look at where Eric Young is. Look at the momentum behind Samoa Joe. Yes, they were in other places, but it was really... They honed their craft with Impact Wrestling. You know, Samoa Joe had some amazing matches with Kurt Angle. Absolutely phenomenal matches. Not nicking AJ's line there, but they were phenomenal matches. You can't deny that. But that's one thing Impact Wrestling's done good. And I really like the idea what Jeff Jarrett's done with talent share, working with promotions. It's one thing that I hate about the WWE and I hate about Vince McMahon. I can't understand why they don't work with other promotions. I know they work with Evolve, but that's it. Like, they've raided Ring of Honor, to put it in polite term. Now, after they've raided Ring of Honor, they're looking at raiding other places. And it's like, okay, why can't you work with other places? Why can't you work talent exchange agreements? You know, if WWE did a talent agreement with New Japan, I'm sorry, but it would make WWE untouchable. It really would make WWE untouchable. You know, they'd be able to use the Bullet Club, stuff like this. But they're not interested in that. They're interested in making sure they're the best and taking down competition. You know, that's what Vince does. He's done it his whole career. He takes down competitions. You know, I just think it's a bit of karma that Ring of Honor fans were been slating for the Impact Wrestling, saying Impact Wrestling's going to go down. Impact Wrestling's going to go down. You're going to be bought out by WWE. How the tables have turned. Now it's looking like Ring of Honor's going to be bought out by the WWE. Oh, that's one sweet karma. And it's true. It's damn true. But I am going to tip my hat off to Jeff Jarrett, you know, working with all these promotions. And even now he's going to be working with World of Sport. Because I think he's seen and realised what the WWE are doing. They're trying to take down the UK market. For people that don't know, the UK market over is really, really strong. There's a lot of great wrestlers over here, and the WWE are trying to sign all these good UK wrestlers so they can't appear on WCPW, which is What Culture Pro Wrestling, so they can't appear on World of Sports because it's televised. So I'm quite happy that Jeff Jarrett has come in, doing creative, doing running basically the world of sports programming, and I just hope he can get the right people and make sure they're on World of Sports and with Impact and not with the WWE. You know, this whole title and the whole tournament at that time was the only reason for that happening was because of World of Sports. They'll tell you it wasn't, but come on now. Anybody with wrestling knowledge and knows the history of wrestling knows exactly what they were doing. But back to my point. Impact's in a good steading. You know, I know they're not working with New Japan. It probably would have been a good deal to work with New Japan, but, you know, New Japan have got a deal with Ring of Honor, so that's probably not going to happen. But to go to Noah, good move. And the other deals, the other promotions they're working with are good promotions. You know, they've cornered Mexico, which is another good move, because Mexico does make a lot of good talent. So it's exciting to be an Impact fan right now. It's exciting to be a wrestling fan now, to see everything that's going on. But let's dig into the show. Now, the only bit of the show I'm getting bored of is the Josh Matthews and JB. Now, I really hope Josh Matthews becomes a heel manager, because he is amazing at the heel. He is booed to hell. He plays the narcissistic, evil, I don't give a crap guy brilliantly. And I think you put him with the right wrestler, have him as the mouthpiece, it will be amazing. I hope he comes off commentary. I really do. But what's basically happened last show, Josh Matthews got struck by JBL, punched in the face after Josh Matthews kept winding. Did I say JBL? Jeremy Borash. After Josh Matthews kept winding Jeremy Borash up, Jeremy hit Josh Matthews. So we see Josh Matthews come down at the start of the show with a human resources rep, and he's there with Scott D'Amore, which we haven't seen Scott D'Amore on television since Team Canada. So that was, you know, a bit of nostalgia there. And Simon Diamond saw him come down and then enforce that Jeremy Borash has been suspended. And Josh just sits there, winds him up, saying, "You've never missed an impact, pal. Now you have." So we see JB leaving, and Josh sits next to the Pope. Kicking off the match, we saw Trevor Lee with Gregory Shane Helms, and formerly known as Evan Bourne, we see Matt Seidel. I said at the start of the show, he's brilliant. I've just noticed a comment from Andrew Knight that says people claim Josh Matthews managing a wrestler is just copying Heyman and Lesnar. Oh, for God's sake. These WWE marks, Jesus Christ. No, it's not. Because Josh is a narcissistic, gobby badmouth. Heyman is the associate. He's not narcissistic. He's straight to the point. He says, "My client." Where Josh is more, would be like, "Shut your mouth, da-da-da-da-da-da," and more nasty, more insulting, where Paul Heyman is not. It's a totally different type. I don't think Josh Matthews would either be managing the one guy. I think it'd be a couple of guys. And I cannot understand why people saying it's a Heyman and Lesnar copy, because it's totally different. Totally different. That just annoys the shit out of me. That is really annoys the shit out of me. You can call anything a copy nowadays. I'm trying to think of something in the WWE that I can. Well, okay, right. If people are saying it's a copy of Heyman and Lesnar, then wasn't what they did at the Riot Family's compound a copy of Final Deletion? WWE's copied Impact Wrestling. Actually, there's numerous times that the WWE have copied Impact Wrestling. The whole AJ, when it was the AJ Styles Becky Lynch storyline, and then that storyline with AJ Lee and WWE came. Okay, hang on, that's following. WWE have copied Impact Wrestling for ages. You know, the New Day was a rip-off of Beatdown Clan. So copying is happening for ages. So fans that are saying that are just idiots. But getting back to this, I've been a fan of Matt for a long time. You know, when he was Evan Bourne in the WWE, I was a fan of him. You know, I'm a fan of his movesets, the way he performs in the ring. I've been saying for a long time, when he was released from the WWE, I've been saying for a long time, I want him in Impact Wrestling. He should be in Impact Wrestling. I don't know if this is just an appearance or if he signed. I'm hoping he signed. You know, because I think he would be fantastic for the X Division. And also getting a win over Trevor Lee as well makes me believe even more that it's more likely he's going to be staying around. After that, we saw Sienna approaching Karen Jarrett in the backstage area. Sienna asks when the GFW Women Champion is. Karen informs Sienna that she's making her debut tonight. Also, I was going to say, we did see the GFW Women's Champion even say that's about merging the Impact Women's title with the GFW title, so it looks like they will be merging titles at a point. You know, just noticed someone saying about Impact doesn't have the TV premiers like the WWE. Right, okay. A couple of things I'm going to inform you on this, Andrew. Impact Wrestling is more popular outside of America than what the WWE is. Impact Wrestling is bigger than the WWE in the UK. Impact Wrestling is bigger in India. That's why it's quite funny that the WWE are pushing Indian stars, because Impact Wrestling announced they're doing a tour in India, so that's kind of funny. Impact is really popular in the outside of America, and outside of America is where that's how Impact has managed to stay afloat, is their viewing figures outside of America. But they are actually trying to improve America, their views in America. The problem is they need to be everywhere. They need to be advertised more. They need to be advertised on other TV networks. They really need to hammer down on their advertising. That's what Impact needs to do, especially in my eyes, to get more known in America and get their numbers up. But abroad, then they're known brilliantly. Like I said, they are really popular in the UK, and that's what makes them signing the deal with World of Sports even bigger, because they are that big in the UK. But anyway, getting back to this, after that we saw James Storm out of the world title picture last week after EC3 hit him with a glass. And he addressed the new regime. He demands respect from them and says when he looked in the mirror, he saw a demigod. EC3 recalls when he was undefeated and declares he will once again become the world champion at Slammiversary. Now, I'm happy about EC3 going heel. My favourite time with EC3 was when he was heel. You know, when he had Rockstar Spud as Master in Chief. You know, when he plays a heel well. And we have seen the line, I'm a Carter, which we haven't heard for a very long time. You know, I'm even wearing an old EC3 top already, because EC3 at heel is when he's at his best. I enjoy his promos as a heel. Yes, he did play a good guy, and he is good playing the good guy, but god damn, he's better at a heel. Don't care what anybody says, I love EC3 as a heel. When he plays that deep, dark character, and his mannerisms as well when he's a heel. He also called James Storm an overrated piece of crap, prompted the Cowboy to make his way to the ring. Storm says he doesn't blame EC for what he did because he can beat him up whenever he wants to. Storm challenges EC3 to a fight, but EC3 declined. Storm insults EC3, causing him to change his mind. Brawl in the ring. EC uses a member of the production queue as a shield, allowing him to take control. EC3 lays out Storm with a 1%er and reminds everybody that he's a Carter. I wonder if we're going to see Dixie. Now, as soon as I say, are we going to see Dixie? People are going to go, oh, no. Dixie doesn't own the company. She's a very small shareholder, but it doesn't. The Jeff Jarrett's can still say, you know, Dixie, do you want to come on air? I don't think they should do it. I don't think we should see Dixie with EC3, but, you know, we could see EC3 in the backstage on the phone and say, Auntie, I'm doing this for you. You know, they could go in that direction with it. Right, I've just noticed someone else saying about why doesn't Impact have live shows. It's, right, Impact Wrestling is on a rebuild. It's going to take time for them to build the company to what it was. You know, at the moment, their focus is on, they've done the rebranding, new logos, they've done all that, new lighting. They're working on the roster. You know, they've built the tag team division up. They've brought names in. They're working on the X division. They're still working on that area. We probably will see Impact Wrestling go live at some point. They're taking things slow. They're walking before they can jump. Like I said, this is a new regime. They're changing everything. You just got to give it time. Their first show was part live. It was a tape delay, but it was live. They probably will go live again, but they are interested in touring the world with Impact Wrestling. They're doing something different. We could see live show. We know the pay-per-views will be live. We'll just have to wait and see. You know, I think at the moment they're probably better off staying taped. But there's always going to be spoilers. It's like Dutch Mantel said, if you don't like spoilers, don't go and find them and don't read them. Simple as. But anyway, let's get back to this. We saw KM get into a altercation with his waiter at a restaurant. Bit of a funny sketch. Didn't really have any point to it. After that, we saw a promo airing from the GF Women's Champion, Christina Von Erin, who I like the look of. She'll probably fit in with Reno Scum as well. It's also making the women's division better. There's a few others I'd like to see that I've said before. You know, there's a few from the Victory Road One Night Only Women's Knockdown, or was it Knockouts Knockdown, that I would like to see signed. But we do know that the GFW Women's Champion is signed to Impact Wrestling. It was a sort of a squash match against Ava Storr, but it was a good match nonetheless. You know, it was her debut, sort of, you know, because there are fans that don't know who she is. So it was a good way to introduce her. It was a good match. You know, like I said, it was a good Impact show. After she got the victory, we saw Swoggle. Now, to me, this was hilarious. And I like that they've added a bit of the comedy. We saw just Swoggle running around the arena and then messes up Rockstar Spud's hair and then runs away. We saw Loki talking about winning the X Division title for the 5th time last week, and he sends out a warning to the rest of the division. Backstage, Mackenzie Mitchell interviews Alberto Alpatron, and he says he's in line for the title shot at the Impact Wrestling World Championship. Magnus confronts him and says he should be number one contender. Karen Jarrett announces a match between the two of them in 2 weeks, with the GFW world title being on the line. And what I say they'll do there is this is what I think. I think the winner of the match will be GFW champion and will take on the Impact Wrestling champion at Slammiversary, and the GFW and the Impact titles will be as one. That's what I think is going to happen there. After that, we saw Moose taking on Davey Richards with Angelina Love in an Impact Grand Championship match. Moose was I can't even say the word. Moose came down to the ring and had pro football players Dale Angelo Williams and Gary. I don't watch American football, so I have no clue who these guys are because I am from the UK. Yes, they are going to unify titles, and then they'll probably bring new titles out called Impact titles. The GFW and the TNA titles are going to be merged, and then they'll bring new titles out called Impact Wrestling. Anyway, back to this. Drew targets Moose's leg in the early going. David locks in the figure four leg lock. Moose gets to the rope. All three judges score it to Davey. Davey attempts a double foot stomp from the top rope, but Moose avoids it. Moose hits a powerbomb, followed by a moonsault from a near fall. Two judges score it to Moose. So it's one apiece. Richards is on the ropes, but Moose hits him with a drop kick, crashing him to the floor. Davey hits Moose with a powerbomb from the top rope, followed by the creepy death kick. Davey connects with the double foot stamp for a near fall. Davey locks in the ankle lock, but then Eddie Edwards comes down, attacks him. The match is thrown out, and security hold Eddie Edwards back. Now, I like this feud, but I've said this before. If they're going to end the Davey and Eddie storyline, it needs to be a full Metal Mayhem. You know, we've seen them take on the Dudleys in this match. We've seen, you know, when it was Dudleys, Wolves, and Hardys, and they've pulled this match off brilliantly. I really do hope that they do that to finish this angle off, because I think that's probably the best way to do it. We saw... I can't believe I'm reading this out to you. This was hilarious. We saw Swoggle make another appearance, tearing up Spud. Spud chases him and accidentally rips off Swoggle's pants, and we see him in these blue bloody boxer things. It was funny. I'm sorry, but I loved it. I thought it was brilliant. I do think Rockstar Spud will stop announcing soon. I don't think he'll be ringside announcer. I think they're bringing someone back from the past to take that role, so I can see Spud getting back in the ring. After that, we saw Kong La Kong with KM, Sienna, and Laura Van Ness, and taking on Matt Sigmund, who I've never heard of. But again, it was a squash match to make Kong La Kong look good. I do like Kong La Kong. I do think he could be good for Impact Wrestling. He's different. He's a bit like the Umaga size, but the way he throws himself into the ring at his size is impressive. But at the end we saw him. Sigmund jumps off the top rope, but is caught and slammed by Kong La Kong. Kong La Kong hits the skull crushing rolling senton, followed by a huge splash from the top rope to win. We saw the Veterans of War, Wilcox and Mayweather, formerly known as Crimson, taking on Faha Baha and Mario Bacra. We saw Wilco pick up the big Faha Baha on his shoulders and hit him with a Samoan drop, which I was impressed. I was really impressed with the veterans of War in this match. You know, to pick up such a big guy and slam him down was impressive. You know, it just made the guys look really strong and really made the guy stand out. We even saw Crimson lift this guy. For people that haven't seen Fali Baha, he's the size of Yokozuna, and he was thrown around like a rag doll. After the match, we saw the Veterans of War talk about their time in the military and declare they're coming for the Impact Wrestling Tag Team Championships. I like the Veterans of War. I like the way they were used. I like the way it was built. I was hooked to the match. I was shocked by the match, if I'm honest. You know, some of the stuff these guys were doing, damn. Couldn't take my eyes off it. We saw Swoggle attack Spud with a hammer from pulling his pants down earlier. And we saw Swoggle beat down on Spud. And I mean beat down on him. Hopefully that means next week we won't have Spud as a ring announcer. But damn, Swoggle did beat down on Spud. I think it possibly is going to lead to a match between Spud and Swoggle. I can't remember what promotion that those titles that Fali Baha and the other guy were holding from. They didn't really say which company. Impact Wrestling does let people who that have holding titles from other companies show them titles, which I quite like. They don't pretend that these wrestlers have not been anywhere else, which I quite like. We saw backstage Eli Drake is angry that he's being ignored since the new talent has arrived in Impact Wrestling and says he's going to do something about it. Tyrus seemed unimpressed about the whole situation. After that, we saw LAX with Santana Ortiz, with Conan, Homicide, Diamante taking on Decay with Rosemary, and it was a street fight for the Impact Wrestling Tag Championship. The only thing I'm really gutted about with this is we know Crazy Stevie's gone. And I'm gutted about Crazy Steve gone from Impact Wrestling because, you know, he was a bit of a nobody, you know, when he came in as the Marjorie, and he's blown everything away. We did see Abyss attempt to chokeslam on Ortiz for a table, but Homicide got involved. And what I liked about this, it was very old Impact. You know, the barbed wire boards, you know. It made, for the main event, it made me go, holy crap. And I haven't gone holy crap in a long time. Trust me. We saw Sonata connect with a steel chair shot to the back of Abyss, followed by a kendo stick from Ortiz. Abyss launched Steve off the top rope. He takes out Santana and Ortiz. Abyss follows up with a double chokeslam. Abyss throws a chair directly to the head of Ortiz. Ramirez gets a spray of mist in Ortiz's face, but accidentally hits Abyss. Ortiz sends Abyss into the barbed wire board in the corner as Diamante takes out Rosemary. Abyss is propped up between two barbed wire boards. Santana launches himself off Ortiz and into the Abyss's corner. Steve hits Ortiz with a driver and goes for the pin. Conan pulls the referee out. Homicide distracts Steve, allowing LAX to send him through a table full of thumbtacks from the top rope. LAX retain the tag team championship. That was one hell of a match. And anybody watching this, go back and watch Impact Wrestling. If you haven't seen Impact Wrestling, go and watch the show. I was so impressed with Impact this week. Last week, I was a bit vocal about how I felt. Bit of a letdown. You know, I was vocal about that. But this week was so much better. The match qualities were better. The storytelling was good. I can't fault it. You know, I don't like Rockstar Spud as a ring announcer. But damn, the stuff with Swoggle was funny as shit. It had me entertained. And that's the thing about Impact. This week, I was entertained. I know I'm going to be disliked for this comment, but I don't care. I'm just going to be honest, and I think Impact was better than the WWE this week. I thought Raw was lackluster, same with SmackDown. But Impact was better. If I have to grade Impact, a B+. Definitely a B+. It won't hit top marks because it's got some time to go. You know, they've got to have their live shows. You know, it's still got somewhere to go to be in the A show. But it was better than what the WWE was serving. That's just my honest opinion. I have to be honest and I have to be truthful. I honestly felt that the Impact was better. For people that have noticed, it is me on my own. Charles is not with me today. He's been hiking up a mountain, so he'll be back next week. But yeah, Impact was a lot better, a lot more improved, and I'm looking forward to next week. We'll be back out on air tomorrow with WWE Payback Review on Monday, 9 p.m. GMT UK time. I can't remember if it's 2 p.m. or 3 p.m. Eastern. I'm not too sure, so you might need to double check what that is in your time zone. I want to say thanks for everybody for commenting, everybody watching. And if you're just seeing this show now and you've missed it, it will be live on our YouTube, and also we're officially on iTunes. So if you're on iTunes, search podcast and search Slamdown, or go on the website, slamdown.co.uk, where you can get a direct link to the iTunes. So then you can listen to us on the go. Or if you want to watch the video, it's on YouTube. But everything you need to know is all on slamdown.co.uk. Or if you want to follow us at Twitter, it's at Slamdown Live. So I've been your host, Ashley Friend, and I'll see you again tomorrow.